Hey, welcome to Let's Talk Guns with Pupwud. My name is Greg Jordan, aka Pupwud, and tonight we're going to talk about one of the first accessories that you'll probably buy for your gun, and we're going to talk about holsters. We're going to talk about on-you holsters, off-you holsters, concealed carry holsters. We're going to talk about holsters. It's something that you have to have. How do you carry your gun? Now, I've known people that will pull their gun out of their gun safe and just stick it in their pocket. Well, that's a lot of people do that, but that's not necessarily the best idea in the world to carry your gun that way. You need some type of holster that helps protect your gun and primarily helps cover the trigger to prevent any potential accidental / negligent depressing of the trigger, causing the gun to possibly go off when it's not intended to. Okay, let's talk about holsters. I've got different types of holsters. We're going to talk about each of them. Depending upon your personal preference will dictate what type of holster you're going to purchase. There are inside the waistband holsters. Now, granted, guys like me that have a little extra girth here in the middle, a little extra padding, inside the waistband holsters usually are not that comfortable, but for guys and ladies that have a slimmer figure, inside the waistband holsters are great. Basically what that is, it's a holster similar to this right here. It may have a metal clip on it, but it goes in between the body, inside the waistband of your pants, shorts, yoga pants, whatever. The biggest thing that you need to remember about inside the pants holsters, or inside the waistband holsters, are that it is not as secure as a holster with a retention device, and the platform in which it is mounted to, in other words, your attire, your shorts, your yoga pants, your jeans, your 511 tactical breeches, whichever one you're wearing, it's got to be able to support the weight of your gun and the inside the waistband holster. There was a very popular NFL running back that a few years ago had a gun just tucked into his waistband when he went to the club, and the gun slipped somehow inside the waistband of his pants, and it just went off. Well, we all know that the trigger had to be pulled to make the gun just go off, but it ended up shooting him in the leg, and his team did not advance to the Super Bowl that particular year. So if you're going to carry a gun in a concealed manner, it doesn't need to just be stuck inside your waistband. You need to have some type of inside the waistband holster. Outside the waistband holsters are more traditional. Outside the waistband holsters are like this right here, or this right here, or this right here, or I'm not going to keep showing you all the holsters. But there are different types of holsters that are more traditional that attach outside your waistband. Now, there are two popular types of outside the waistband holsters. There are belt loop or belt slide holsters, which are similar to this one right here, that your belt actually goes through. It fits on the outside of your waistband, and it will secure your firearm. They're very popular for concealed carry. This is a holster that's made by Urban Carry. It is actually a level 2 holster, and what I mean by that is not only is it just covering the trigger, but it's got a little locking retention device inside the holster that you can point the gun upside down. All these guns are unloaded, by the way. You can point the gun upside down and it won't fall out because it's got a trigger lock mechanism inside the holster. But basically on these types of holsters, the belt is going to feed through the belt loop. It's going to be on your strong side. Some people choose to carry in the small of their back, but this is a level 2 holster that works with a belt. You have to have a belt to make this one work. That being said, now let's look at a holster that uses a paddle back, or as oftentimes referred to as a belt clip, This is a holster that is made by Blackhawk. It's called a Serpa holster. It has a paddle, and this paddle fits in between the waistband and the body, and it's got little hooks here that will hook it under the belt and inside the waistband, so it'll actually catch on your clothing to help the gun be more steady. Your belt does not feed through this. It is simply this paddle that slides down inside your waistband, and you would wear it just like a conventional holster. Some people do not like the Serpa. It really comes down to personal preference and what you're going to practice with. The Serpa holster is a level 2, means the gun positively locks in there and it won't fall out. It uses an index finger, like a little depression lever here, that you push to remove the gun from the holster. Now, some people don't like it because they say that you have to put too much pressure on your finger, and there's potential that it comes onto the trigger after the gun clears the holster. In this particular model of holster, if I've got my finger indexed correctly to depress the release mechanism so I can pull the gun out of the holster, my finger is properly indexed alongside the side of the gun, which is normally the way that I would hold the gun until I am on target and ready to fire. Then I would put my finger on the trigger. But that is a Blackhawk Serpa. It is available for many different types of guns. This one is specific for the medium frame Glocks, Glock 19, Glock 17, Glock 26, 27, etc., etc. Now, the only thing that you have to keep in mind is that most of these holsters are designed specifically for a particular model of gun, some of them specific for a particular model and barrel length of gun. Just like we talked about in the earlier video about the particular caliber for your gun, and you have to make sure that you are choosing the right caliber ammunition for your gun, you also have to make sure that you are choosing the correct fit holster for your gun. This one is specific for a Glock 19. Now, I can put my Glock 34 in there because it's the same size frame, but what do you see here? The barrel is actually protruding from the bottom of the holster, so this holster does not technically fit the Glock 34. It will, and I could use it in an emergency situation if I didn't have anything else, but if I was going to carry this Glock 34, I would want to buy a holster that was specific for a Glock Model 34. Another thing to keep in mind is that when we're talking about holsters, is that if you have an optical sight, which is one of the accessories that we'll talk about in just a few minutes, you have to purchase a holster that is specific for and designed for carrying a firearm with an optical sight. This holster that I just took the Glock 19 out of is a Safariland holster that is designed specifically for a Glock 17. Glock 17 has about an inch longer barrel than the Glock 19, and you can see here that there's about an inch of extra holster on this particular holster. This one uses a thumb brake. So when you assume the proper grip on your gun, the natural position of the thumb will actually release the gun from the holster. Otherwise, it's locked in, and this too is a level 2 security holster. That being said, just like on the Serpa that has a very large paddle, okay, this Safariland holster has a smaller paddle. It still has the hook that allows it to hook under your belt to give you another level of security in securing the holster, but it's just got a smaller paddle on it. This Safariland holster has the larger paddle. It comes down to whatever you are going to be most comfortable with as far as belt loop, inside the waistband, outside the waistband, small paddle, large paddle, etc., etc. The next one that I'm going to talk about is basically just a liner type holster. And that liner type holster is just that. It is a level 1 holster, which means all it does is cover the trigger on the gun. There's no security device in here whatsoever. If I turned it upside down, the gun would just fall out of it. This holster can be used inside of a pocket. The reason I like it for carrying a gun inside your pocket, if you choose to carry in that manner, is that this holster covers the trigger of the gun so that nothing can accidentally get in there and potentially depress the trigger. This would also be a good holster for you ladies or for you men that may carry a man purse. If you carry a gun in your purse, you can put this inside one of the pockets of your purse. It keeps the gun secure and it protects the trigger of the gun while it's being carried in a bag, in a pocket, in a padfolio, however you decide to carry your gun. So it's just something for you to consider there as well. Okay? The only other thing for you to consider with holsters is you need to determine whether you want a level 1, level 2, or level 3 holster. The difference is level 1 holster simply just covers the trigger. Okay? There's no locking device. There's no what manufacturers refer to as retention device in the holster at all. This one appears to be, again, this one's made by Urban Carry, and we will talk about some of the leading manufacturers of holsters in just a moment. But this one looks like a level 1, but it is in fact a level 2. Shh, listen. You actually hear the gun lock into the restraining device inside the gun. You can shake it, the gun won't fall out of it. It has to be forcefully removed from that locking device. So this is actually a level 2 holster that I use for my SIG P365 when I carry it as part of my everyday carry. Okay? I do not have an example of a level 3 security holster here, but basically it's very similar to this. This gun just in the holster is a level 1. This locking security device that you release with your proper thumb grip here is the second level, a level 3 security holster, which is usually only carried by uniformed law enforcement officers on duty. Will have an additional retention device, so you have to depress 2 security devices to release the gun from that holster. Many years ago, when I was doing some training for law enforcement agencies, we transitioned from a level 2 to a level 3 security holster. And in doing that, we had to make sure that the officers were aware, just like you will have to be aware, of how to get your gun out of your holster. If you can't get your gun out of your holster, you might as well be carrying a hammer. Okay? So when we did that transition training, it was an 8-hour day of how to draw your gun from your new holster. And we had those officers perform about 500 repetitions of how to remove their gun from their holster. Depending upon where you carry your gun, you're going to need to practice drawing your gun from that position. You'll also need to know at your local firing range whether or not they allow you to draw from the holster or whether you have to from your gun being on the table in front of you. I do not recommend, and I don't have an example here for you of a shoulder holster because those are kind of old-fashioned and not a lot of people carry shoulder holsters anymore. But I don't recommend for you changing positions of your gun that often. Some people carry an ankle holster. Some people carry a waistband holster. Some people wear a shoulder holster. But you need to practice with and have muscle memory of where you need to go to access your firearm should you need to do so in an emergency situation. Okay? The last one that I will show you is a holster that is specific for this Glock 43X MOS. You notice it doesn't have the thumb release that you see on this particular holster. it has a release on the holster that is actuated by your middle finger when you assume the proper grip to remove the gun from the holster. The security device is right here, and it unlocks when you depress it with your middle finger. It depresses it when you assume the proper grip for removing that handgun from the holster. So it just comes down to you have to practice with and become familiar with whatever holster you are going to carry. You will have to know, and I keep stressing you, because you're the only one that can become familiar with the retention release device or on the particular holster that you're going to decide to carry. Okay, you are the one that's going to have to become familiar with where I'm carrying my gun today. That's the reason I don't recommend, okay, on Monday I carry it on my hip, on Tuesday I carry it in my shoulder holster, on Wednesday I carry it in my ankle. In an emergency situation, you're going to fight how you train. You're going to defend yourself how you train. And if I'm carrying my gun on my right hip the majority of the time in a stressful situation, that's where I'm going to go to try to retrieve my firearm. So that's just something for you to remember. Very quickly, we're going to talk about some of the most leading, most popular manufacturers of handgun holsters, and you can look at their websites. You can look at different stores. If you go to any of the big box stores, and I'm not going to mention any specific names, Academy Sports, Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, but if you go to any of those big box stores, they usually have a very wide variety and very large selection of different types of holsters. You can go look at it and kind of figure out what you want to carry. Some people still want a traditional leather holster, traditional look holster that's got a thumb brake on it, and that's fine too. You just have to practice with the type of holster that you're going to carry your gun in. That being said, this particular holster is made by Urban Carry. You can go to their website, which is urbancarry.com, and look at their holsters. This holster and this holster are made by Safariland, and that is safariland.com. And again, any of the big box stores will have Safariland, Bianchi, Phobos, Uncle Mike's. They have a bunch of different types of holsters there. Blackhawk makes the Serpa holster. They also make it in many different finishes, and you can get it in a couple of different colors, or actually 3 different colors. The most popular are black, gray, and I think they now make one in a desert sand color. And they may even make one in OD green, I'm not sure. But you can select the different color holsters. Now, all of this being said, Uncle Mike's, Phobos, Alien Gear, all of those are different manufacturers that make holsters specific for a particular brand, model, and barrel length of a gun. I say that, and now I'm going to say this. There are also independent holster manufacturers in your community that make holsters out of Kydex. Kydex is a type of plastic that they actually form and shape around your gun. They're usually level 1 holsters that the gun just slides down into. It is very form-fitting. Your gun doesn't really lock into it, but your gun will be semi-secure in that holster. Okay, so we've pretty much covered everything and all the types of holsters that you will probably carry, except for the shoulder holster. The biggest thing that you need to do is you need to be sure that you find a holster that you're comfortable with and that you are extremely familiar how to release the retention device for that particular holster. Your gun does you no good if you can't get it out of your holster. So that being said, want to go to some questions now from some of our students. And Kel, you have some questions?
I do. Okay, question from Gina. How much should I practice using my holster?
Good question, Gina. I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the class or in the video that we did a transition from one type of holster to another type of holster when I was doing some public safety training. And we had those officers do about 500 repetitions of getting their gun out of the holster. First thing you need to do, of course, is make sure that you've got a holster that is comfortable, that you like, that you're actually going to carry. And I highly recommend that you carry your gun in the same place every time. Again, if you've got people that change it from a ankle holster to a shoulder holster to a right side holster to a cross-draw holster, in a stress situation where your life is on the line, you're going to go back to muscle memory. You're going to revert back to muscle memory, and you're going to go to where that gun is most of the time. And if you go to your right side and you go, oh crap, I'm carrying in a shoulder holster today, the transition from your right side to your shoulder holster may be too late. So how much should you practice? You should practice enough with that holster so that you can do the four-step draw, 1, 2, 3, 4. You should be able to do the 4-step draw smoothly without any hiccups. And by what I mean by that, assume your grip, release the retention device on the firearm, bring it up and out, and punch out toward your targets. Whether you're using a Serpa type holster with an index finger retention release, or you're using a Safariland holster with the thumb type retention release, or you're using a Safariland concealment holster that's got the middle finger retention release. You've got to practice enough so that every time you grip that gun and hit that release device, that you can draw your gun from your holster. I probably, with a new holster, 150 to 200 repetitions will get you in the ballpark. But the more you practice getting your gun out of that holster, the better you're going to be. Okay, next question, Kel.
All right, Jennifer says, how much does a good gun cleaning kit cost?
Again, I'm going to give you the answer that a lot of my attorney friends give. It depends. You can buy a good basic gun cleaning kit that is specific for your caliber of handgun for less than $20. In fact, Kel and I were at a range this past weekend, and we saw some very caliber specific cleaning kits, and they were $14.99. So you can look at any of your big box stores. You can buy a universal gun cleaning kit, or you can buy one that's specific to your particular caliber of handgun, but you're going to spend anywhere from probably $15 to $39, depending upon how elaborate you want to get on your cleaning kit. And our last question for the evening?
Our last question is from Vicki. It says, with the ammunition shortage and it being hard to get ammunition, what is a good bullet to use to practice with?
Good question. I always practice with full metal jacket bullets, which are the least expensive. If I can find them that have been reloaded by a reputable reloader, I will use full metal jacket, just cheap ammunition to practice with. I try to use the same bullet weight as the round that I carry for self-protection. Now, if you can't find full metal jacket rounds, then you may be able to find just solid lead rounds. But please keep in mind you can't shoot solid lead rounds through some manufacturers' barrels because the lead peels off and it will actually adhere to the inside of the barrel and can cause a catastrophic malfunction. So make sure that you read your owner's manual to see if there's anything that specifically states that you can't carry lead rounds. You can buy, at one point I would have said you could buy inexpensive hollow points, but there's no such thing as inexpensive ammunition right now. But I would recommend that if you can, to find full metal jacket ammunition that is close to the same bullet weight that you carry for your protection ammo, your ballistic tip ammo, or your jacketed hollow point. Thank y'all for joining us. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And we really appreciate you being here. And be safe, shoot straight. Until next time.